Tonight, we're traveling back thousands of years to a land where beauty wasn't just decoration. It was a religion, a weapon, and sometimes a death sentence. Imagine painting your eyes with powders so toxic they could blind you, rubbing your skin with salts that burned, or shaving your head until it bled. All because to be considered beautiful in ancient Egypt, you had to suffer. And here's the truth. You probably wouldn't survive it. But don't worry. This is just a bedtime story. Before we drift into that world of oil lamps and desert winds, take a moment. If you enjoy these strange journeys through forgotten history, please tap the like button, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, what time is it where you are, and where are you listening from? I love seeing our little sleepy history circle stretch, from London to Sydney, Cairo to New York. Now, settle in. Dim the lights, maybe let a fan hum softly in the background, like the whisper of night along the Nile. Breathe out, unclench your shoulders, and let your mind step gently into another life. You're standing in a mud brick courtyard as the desert air cools after a scorching day. The horizon glows faintly with the last fire of the sun, and the river Nile glitters with bands of gold. From a nearby brazier, coils of incense rise, sweet myrrh, sharp frankincense, a haze that clings to your skin. A clay mirror waits on a low wooden stool. In it you see your own face, already slicked with oil, ready to be powdered and painted into something more than human. Because here, beauty is not just vanity. It is ma'at, divine order, harmony with the gods. And to break those rules would be to fall out of balance with the universe itself. So tonight, under the watching eyes of falcons painted on the temple walls, you begin your transformation. You sit in the fading light of an Egyptian evening, and the air feels thick with dust, warmth, and expectation. The world here is not divided the way yours is now. Everything breathes with symbolism. Every gesture, every color, every ritual, and beauty in this land is never shallow. It is not just about admiration or vanity. It is the reflection of a deeper law, Ma'at, the order of the cosmos, the balance that keeps sun and stars and spirits aligned. To look beautiful was not only to please yourself or your lover, it was to mirror the eternal balance of the universe. The pharaoh himself was the embodiment of this principle. His body, polished and perfumed, was a living vessel of cosmic symmetry. And so, from the highest throne to the humblest courtyard, the people of Egypt understood beauty as an obligation. It was not an indulgence, but a duty, a harmony that tied you back to the gods. Imagine yourself rising at dawn as the sun god Ra climbs into the sky. Before you even think of food, before you step outside, you wash. You bathe in the Nile's water, or in jars of water sprinkled with natron salts, the crystalline powder that cleanses not only the skin, but also the spirit. Every drop that touches you is a prayer, a reminder that to live without ritual purity is to live outside of divine favor. As you dry yourself in the early sun, your skin gleams with a sheen of oil, castor or moringa or lotus pressed smooth across your limbs. It softens the skin, yes, but more importantly, it keeps you aligned with the gods who made flesh to shine like gold. The Egyptians saw their gods with golden skin, radiant, untarnished. To be beautiful meant to echo that radiance. To neglect your body was to slip into chaos, the opposite of ma'at, isfet, disorder. You run your fingers through your hair, or perhaps over a shaved scalp, smoothed and powdered. Both were acceptable, depending on your station, but whichever choice you made, it was a choice of order against decay. Loose hair, wild hair, Unkempt hair, these were signs of chaos, temptation, even death. A shaved head, beneath a wig, showed discipline. Oiled locks, braided with beads, spoke of wealth and fertility. Either way, to arrange the body was to declare that you were not at the mercy of the wild desert. You were aligned with the sacred order of life. The concept of beauty in Egypt was inseparable from health. A body that appeared glowing, fragrant, balanced in proportion was not just admired, it was considered morally upright. If your skin cracked, if your lips peeled, if your eyes looked dull, people might whisper that you had fallen from favor, that the gods no longer smiled upon you. Even illnesses, visible or invisible, could be understood through this lens. A sickly body was more than misfortune. It was a break in Ma'at. But there is no cruelty here in the sense of fashion's whims. Instead, there is gravity, almost serenity. To paint your eyes with kohl was to imitate Horus, falcon-eyed guardian of the sky. To rouge your lips with red ochre was to echo Hathor, goddess of love and beauty. To perfume your skin was to invite the sweet breath of Nefertem, lotus-born deity of scent and renewal. Every cosmetic jar in your chamber was not simply paint, but a container of spells. Even the poorest servant knew this in some way. Perhaps she owned no jewels, no wigs, no elaborate ointments, but she might carry a sprig of scented mint tucked into her dress. She might line her eyes with the faintest smear of soot, small acts, but powerful, because they aligned her with the same cosmic order that guided kings. For nobles, of course, the duty was heavier. When you walked into court, you were not only yourself, but the image of your family, your ancestors, your gods. Your beauty had to be flawless, untiring, divine. Every curve, every scent, every shimmer of oil on your arm was a silent statement. I live in Ma'at. I uphold the balance. I am worthy to stand before eternity. There is a quiet paradox in this, though, for while beauty was order, it was also illusion. Statues of pharaohs show eternal youth, unwrinkled skin, perfect features. But behind them, flesh aged, hair thinned, skin cracked under the desert sun. The Egyptians knew this, but they embraced the illusion anyway. For to present beauty was to defy time itself, to remind the gods that you remembered their eternal perfection even as your own body crumbled. This is why tombs were filled with cosmetics, jars of unguents, carefully braided wigs. Even in death you could not abandon beauty. In the afterlife, you must appear balanced, perfect, unblemished. To arrive before Osiris with cracked skin, with dry lips, with disorder on your face would be unthinkable. Your your soul, required perfume, oils, and paint to show that it still knew Ma'at, that it still remembered the divine order. Now imagine the weight of this. Beauty is not optional. You cannot simply be careless, skip a day, appear in the fields with sweat on your brow. To sweat too much, to stink, to look unkempt, is to betray not only yourself but the balance of the universe. Imagine the pressure of waking each morning knowing that your body is a message to the gods. You smooth oil across your arms and legs, and as you do, you whisper a small prayer. You press kohl around your eyes, not just to darken them, but to protect them from glare and evil. You comb your wig, fix your beads, fasten your collar of blue faience beads. The air smells of myrrh and honey. And slowly, your reflection changes. You are no longer simply yourself. You are a small reflection of the eternal. This is why Egyptian art never shows people casually. Men stride with one foot forward, balanced, strong. Women stand slim and youthful, skin glowing, eyes lined in black. Pharaohs, even at 60, appear eternally 30, their bodies muscled, their faces unlined. Beauty was propaganda, but also prayer. To see the beautiful was to glimpse the divine order still alive in the world. And here is the strange part. This expectation reached everyone. Priests shaved their bodies completely, again and again, to maintain ritual purity. Dancers oiled their limbs and perfumed their hair so that even their movements would carry divine scent. Farmers, when they could, wore amulets shaped like lotus blossoms, reminders of rebirth and balance. From palace to village hut, everyone was bound to beauty as a form of balance. The degree varied, the tools differed, but the idea remained constant. To live without beauty was to live in disorder, to risk falling into the jaws of chaos. You breathe deeply, and the air smells faintly of lotus, of incense, of skin slick with oil. The night hums softly with the voices of frogs by the river. Somewhere in the distance, a temple hymn rises, voices calling out to Ra as he sinks below the horizon. And you feel it, the weight of expectation, but also the serenity of order. To be beautiful here is not to chase fashion, not to starve yourself for thinness or bleach your face to bone. It is to align, to polish yourself into harmony with the universe. But harmony is fragile. The oils sting, the razors cut, the coal burns the eyes. The rituals are endless, consuming. You cannot simply exist. You must maintain, always, a balance that feels just out of reach. And so as you sit in the quiet courtyard, you realize the truth. Beauty here is not just decoration. It is cosmic obedience. It is social survival. It is magical protection. It is ma'at. And if you fail it, if your skin cracks, if your hair grows wild, if your body smells of labor instead of lotus, you risk slipping into something far darker. Not just ugliness, but chaos itself. The incense in your courtyard burns lower, its smoke curling like a serpent. You lean closer to the small table where your cosmetics rest. Alabaster jars, copper tools, a polished bronze mirror that warps your reflection into something otherworldly. This is where beauty becomes ritual, and ritual becomes survival. Your hand reaches for a tiny vessel filled with black powder. Inside is the substance that defines every Egyptian face, from pharaoh to farmer, coal. The first touch feels cold. A slender stick, dipped into the powder, slides across the tender skin beneath your eyelids. The sensation is sharp, almost stinging, but you steady your hand. A mirror catches the faint shimmer of the line, long, almond-shaped, sweeping toward your temples. This isn't vanity, it is protection. To line your eyes in black is to imitate the falcon Horus, his sharp gaze cutting through shadow. It shields you from glare, from infection, from the evil eye that drifts unseen through crowded markets and temple halls. Without kohl, your face feels naked, your body unguarded. The Egyptians knew this powder was powerful. They crushed galena, a lead ore, until it became fine dust. They mixed it with oils, with fat, with herbs. Sometimes malachite, the green mineral of the goddess Hathor, was ground into softer shades for festivals or ritual days. The act of grinding itself was prayer, a rhythm that connected you to eternity. But kohl was also poison. The very lead that gave it depth crept into the skin, into the blood, invisible and relentless. Your eyes burn, but you press on, because to be unpainted is unthinkable. Imagine walking into the sun without it. The desert light hits you like a weapon, glaring white, stabbing into the eyes. But with coal drawn thick and heavy, the brightness dims, shadows deepen. You can see clearly, protected, focused. Even in the blinding desert, your vision feels stronger, as though the gods themselves have sharpened it. Yet, for all its practical power, coal was also a signature of status. The wealthy had jars carved from alabaster, lids sealed with ivory. Servants carried them carefully, alongside combs, mirrors, and wigs. For the poor, soot from the hearth sufficed, rubbed along lashes and lids, a humble imitation of the divine standard. Everyone wore it, but only the elite transformed it into an art form. You imagine standing in a crowded temple court. All around you, faces gleam with oil, and eyes flash black in the sunlight. Men and women alike bear the same dark lines, their gazes elongated, feline, almost supernatural. The crowd looks not human, but divine. Every face echoing gods painted on the walls, every eye a fragment of eternity. There are whispers that the gods themselves wore coal. Hathor, goddess of beauty and love, lined her eyes in shimmering green malachite. Horus's falcon gaze burned with black shadow. Even the child god Horus the Younger is painted with wide eyes rimmed in thick lines. To paint your eyes is to step closer to them, to claim a little of their protection, their glamour, their power. But the ritual is not without cost. Your eyes water. The lead stings. Over time, the delicate skin around your eyes grows raw, inflamed. Some women suffer infections. Some go blind. Physicians prescribe yet more coal, mixed with honey or milk, believing it heals as much as it harms. Perhaps it does, for the powders contained not only lead, but compounds that seem, even now, to have antibacterial properties. Was it poison? Was it medicine? The line is blurred, just as it is smudged across your eyelids tonight. Still, you can't escape the quiet cruelty of it. Imagine being a child, barely old enough to walk, your mother lifting your small face and lining your eyes. The sting makes you flinch, but she hushes you. "It keeps you safe," she whispers. "It makes you beautiful." From birth to death, the line is never absent. Even mummies, wrapped tight in linen, are found with black powder still pressed into the sockets of their eyes. To die without coal was to die unguarded. Now the air grows heavier, and you picture yourself in the palace of a noblewoman. She reclines on a low couch, servants surrounding her with palettes and jars. They dip sticks into powders, oils, pastes, and with steady hands they remake her face. The lines drawn across her eyes stretch longer, sharper, more exaggerated than in the fields outside. Here, beauty is not subtle. It is bold, theatrical, a performance for gods and for men alike. The noblewoman does not speak as they work. Her eyes are closed, her face serene. She knows this is more than paint. It is spellwork. Every line lengthened is a barrier against envy, against death, against the creeping touch of Isfet, the chaos that forever threatens Ma'at. You too are painted now. The mirror catches your face in its bronze curve. The eyes that stare back are not entirely your own. They are larger, darker, sharper. You look older, more dangerous, more divine. The paint has changed you. For a moment, you think you glimpse someone else's face. Hathor's playful gaze, Horus's stern watch, Cleopatra's cunning beauty centuries before her birth. You blink, and it is gone, but the weight of it remains. Coal has marked you, has bound you to an order larger than yourself. But there is no freedom in this. To skip the ritual would invite whispers. To appear without painted eyes would make you suspicious, perhaps cursed. You can almost hear it. She has no kohl. Has she fallen ill? Has she offended the gods? Is she already touched by death? The incense smoke fades into the night, but the lines on your face remain. They will not wash off easily. They sink into the skin, staining it, becoming part of you. This is beauty in Egypt, not a choice but a command. To wear kohl is to survive, to belong, to be divine. To refuse is to slip into shadow, to risk chaos, to court Isfet. And so, with your eyes rimmed dark, and your vision sharp against the night, you wait for what comes next. The gods are watching, the stars flicker above, and the Nile breathes slow and eternal. Your body is ready, your face is painted, but beauty is never finished here. The night deepens, and you can feel the weight of kohl still pressed around your eyes, heavy as protection, heavy as expectation. But here in Egypt, beauty does not end with the eyes. It runs deeper, covering every inch of flesh, because skin, too, was sacred. Skin was the first thing the gods gave to mortals, and the gods themselves were said to shine with golden flesh, smooth, radiant, untouched by blemish or age. And so, your skin must echo theirs. You reach for a jar of oil, its alabaster sides cool against your hand. Inside, the scent rises like a hymn: lotus, frankincense, moringa. A servant dips her fingers in and smooths it across your arms, your shoulders, your chest. The touch is firm, deliberate. She works the oil until your skin glistens, shining under the flicker of a single oil lamp. To the Egyptians, oiled skin was more than vanity. It was protection against the burning desert sun, against insects, against the dust that clung to every breeze. But it was also symbolic. Glossy skin reflected the divine light, made the body appear closer to that of the gods. A matte, dry surface was not only uncomfortable, it was a sign of neglect, even of falling into disorder. To appear without shine was to appear unblessed. But smoothness did not come easily. Each day began with cleansing, water from the Nile, sometimes scented with herbs, sometimes poured from clay jars by servants. Then came natron, the crystalline salt harvested from dry desert lakes. It scrubbed the body, stripped away sweat, and scoured imperfections. It burned at small cuts. It dried the skin until it cracked. But still it was rubbed over arms, legs, even the face, because cleanliness was divine, and pain was temporary. Imagine rubbing salt into your skin until it stings, then pouring fragrant oil over the wounds so that you shine like polished stone. This was the daily rhythm, and to neglect it was to risk not only mockery but spiritual imbalance. And still the pursuit went further. Recipes for smooth, youthful skin filled the papyrus scrolls of ancient physicians. Some called for honey mixed with milk, spread thick over the body to soften and sweeten. Others whispered of more grotesque mixtures, crocodile dung masks, left to dry until the face stiffened and cracked, sour milk baths that reeked of rot but promised renewal. The most famous of all was Cleopatra herself, said to bathe in donkey's milk, hundreds of animals kept only to supply the endless baths she required. The lactic acid peeled at her skin, stripping away roughness, leaving her glowing but raw. To us it sounds strange, decadent, even revolting, but in her time it was divine maintenance. Her skin was not merely hers, it was Egypt's. It was a symbol of rule, of allure, of eternal youth. Step back for a moment. Picture a banquet in Thebes. Torches blaze, music drifts across the courtyard, and dancers move like ribbons in the firelight. Their arms gleam with oil, reflecting golden flashes at every turn. The pharaoh reclines, his skin oiled from head to toe, glowing under jewelry, smooth as polished stone. Around him, nobles mimic the same ritual, a shimmering court of gods, disguised as men and women. The body here is spectacle, but it is also spell. Smooth skin says, "I am healthy, I am balanced, I am touched by Ma'at." Rough skin whispers, "I am poor, I am chaotic, I am vulnerable to death." In a culture obsessed with the afterlife, these whispers were dangerous. If your skin looked wrong in life, how could you appear before Osiris in death? And yet, beneath the shine there was cruelty. Oils were expensive, perfumes rarer still. The poor could not afford them, though they too were expected to remain clean. They bathed in the river, rubbed their bodies with sand, scraped away grime with clay shards. Their skin burned under the sun, roughened with labor. They smelled of sweat, not lotus, and for that they were judged. Beauty was balance, but it was also hierarchy. The rich gleamed, the poor cracked. The gods smiled only on some. Imagine yourself now, sitting on a reed mat, a servant crouched beside you. She rubs natron along your arms until your skin tingles. You bite back a hiss of pain, because to complain is to show weakness. Then she smooths a thick layer of oil scented with lotus blossoms across the raw surface. The burn fades into warmth. You shine once again. In the bronze mirror, your face is different. The glow is unnatural, divine. You are not just yourself. You are a fragment of the eternal body of Ra, of Hathor, of Osiris. You are an image of the gods, and that image must never fade. But here lies the exhaustion. Beauty in Egypt is not a one-time ritual. It is a cycle, endless, consuming. Every day the sun rises. Every day you cleanse, scrape, oil, perfume. Every day you polish your flesh until it no longer feels your own. And always, beneath the glow, you wonder, how much of this is for me, and how much of this is for survival? For here, a beautiful body is more than admiration. It is moral, magical, eternal. It proves your worth in life. It prepares you for the afterlife. It reflects Ma'at itself. And so you cannot stop. Your skin must gleam. Your body must shine. Even if the oils sting, even if the salts burn, even if the milk curdles around you with the smell of decay. Because to be dull, to be blemished, to be ordinary, is to be out of balance. And out of balance is chaos. You lean back, your skin still slick with oil, the perfume heavy in your nostrils. Somewhere in the night, a priest chants, his voice carrying across the Nile. You know what comes next. The eyes are painted, the skin is polished, but the mouth must speak beauty too. And so, you prepare to paint your lips the color of life. The oil on your skin has soaked in now, leaving behind a soft sheen, a faint perfume that clings like invisible silk. But smoothness alone is not enough. In Egypt, beauty was not only about shining like the gods, it was about defying time itself. Every crease, every shadow, every wrinkle whispered of decay, and decay was the enemy. To grow old was to drift closer to disorder, closer to Isfet. The gods did not wrinkle, so neither could you. And so begins the endless battle against age. You sit in a quiet chamber lit by flickering oil lamps. The air smells of honey and sour milk. a sharp tang that makes your stomach twist. Before you, a servant kneels with a bowl of thick white liquid. She dips her fingers into it and begins to spread it over your face, cool and sticky. It is donkey's milk, prized for its acids, said to peel away the top layer of skin, to soften, to whiten. Cleopatra herself was said to bathe in it. Hundreds of donkeys kept only to supply the endless milk for her baths. Imagine sinking into a pool of sour-sweet liquid, the air heavy with the scent of curdling dairy, your skin stinging as it strips away its own defenses. You lie still, pretending it soothes you, while in truth you are raw, vulnerable. But this was beauty, this was order. Other recipes were harsher still. Crocodile dung, dried and powdered, mixed into a mask with honey or oils, then smeared across the face until it hardened. You sit motionless as the mask cracks, flakes, pulls at your skin. It smells of the river, of rot, of reptiles lurking beneath muddy waters. The logic is clear. The crocodile is eternal, its skin armored, its body ancient. To borrow its strength was to defy time. And yet, beneath the mask your skin itches, your pores suffocate, infection lingers in the air. Still you endure, because to wrinkle is to fail. Imagine walking into a banquet with lines at your eyes. People would notice. Whispers would spread. She is aging. She is slipping out of favor. The gods are turning from her. It was not vanity. It was survival. The Egyptians believed youth was proof of divine harmony. The pharaoh was painted eternally young. Even statues carved of stone show smooth faces, ageless, untouched by time. The gods did not grow old. To wrinkle was to become too human, too fragile, too close to death. And so the people fought. Honey mixed with ground alabaster was rubbed into the skin, sticky and heavy, said to smooth lines. Papyrus texts list ointments of frankincense, myrrh, and lotus oil, claiming to renew the flesh. In truth, many of these burned, dried, irritated. But what mattered was the illusion. For a single evening, your face glowed. For a single night, you looked eternal. Picture yourself reclining in a courtyard as the sun sets. A maid brings you a bowl of sour milk mixed with natron salt. She paints it across your arms, your face, your neck. The liquid dries in streaks, pulling your skin tight, giving you the look of youth. Guests arrive, and you rise to greet them, smiling faintly. They see smoothness, radiance. They do not see the redness beneath, the pain, the hidden cracks. This was the secret. Beauty here was never comfort, it was endurance. And yet there is a strange serenity in the ritual. To sit quietly while a servant paints your face with honey and dung, to close your eyes and smell the sourness, the sweetness, the rot. It is to surrender. For a moment, you are not a person but a canvas, a vessel being polished for the gods. Perhaps that was the point, to lose yourself in the ritual, to become something more than flesh. Even men were not exempt. Scribes, priests, nobles. They too sought smoothness. Wrinkled skin was weakness, proof of mortality. Young men rubbed oils into their faces, perfumed themselves with lotus and cinnamon. Old men sought recipes of herbs and resins, desperate to hold on to youth. To appear aged was to lose influence, to lose ma'at, to slide toward death. And always beneath the surface was fear, the fear of disorder, of rot, of the grave. Death itself was prepared as a beauty ritual. Mummies were coated with resins, their faces painted, their skins smoothed with oils and wax. Even in death, the body had to look unwrinkled, uncorrupted. Because when you appeared before Osiris, you needed to look divine, not decayed. Beauty was not just for life, it was for eternity. You lean back now, your skin stiff beneath a mask of honey and sour milk. You breathe shallowly, the air heavy with perfume and rot. In the mirror, your face is pale, smooth, false. You look ageless, you look divine. But you know the truth. Beneath the mask, your skin burns. Beneath the illusion, time is still moving. The wrinkles will come, the lines will deepen, the body will betray you. And so tomorrow, you will rise again. You will grind natron, spread honey, pour milk. You will smear crocodile dung across your cheeks. You will endure. Because here in Egypt, beauty is not freedom. It is bondage, a chain of rituals that stretch from cradle to tomb. And to break that chain is to fall into chaos. The mask cracks. You peel it away, flaking into a bowl, the smell sharp, sour. Beneath it your skin gleams, raw but radiant. The servants murmur their approval. For tonight you have succeeded. But the ritual is not over. Your skin is smooth, your eyes are lined. But the gods demand more. The mouth, too, must be perfected. The lips must be painted with the color of life. And so, as the oil lamps flicker and the Nile hums outside, you prepare the red pigment that will stain your mouth for the night to come. The mask has been lifted from your face now, leaving your skin raw, tingling, almost trembling under the lamplight. Smoothness achieved, radiance restored, but the ritual is not finished. Your eyes are rimmed in kohl. Your skin shines with oil, but still something is missing. The gods will not look upon you kindly until your mouth carries the color of life itself. In Egypt, the lips were not just flesh. They were a symbol of vitality, fertility, even power. To leave them bare was to risk looking lifeless, unfinished, a husk rather than a vessel of divine order. And so, every morning, every evening, they were painted. You lift the lid of a small alabaster jar. Inside glimmers a powder of red ochre, ground from stones, pulled from desert cliffs. The color is deep, earthy, the shade of blood, the hue of the setting sun. You mix it with water, or perhaps with a dab of beeswax, until it forms a paste. A servant hands you a small brush made of reeds. With careful strokes, you smear the pigment across your lips. The sensation is strange. Dry at first, then sticky, clinging. You press your lips together, and when you look into the mirror, the transformation is complete. Where a moment ago you looked pale, unfinished, now you glow. Your lips are the color of power. This ritual was not simple vanity. The Egyptians believed red lips carried magic. The red pigment was tied to the goddess Hathor, patron of beauty, love, and sensuality. To wear her color was to invite her favor, to embody her allure. It was also bound to Isis, goddess of life and resurrection. Red meant blood, breath, existence. Without it, you looked like death. With it, you radiated vitality. But the powders were not always harmless. Some were safe. Ochre mixed with oils, natural pigments from the earth. Others were deadly. Certain reds came from cinnabar or carmine, minerals tainted with mercury, their beauty masking slow poison. Women painted their mouths each day, never knowing that with each stroke they pulled death closer. Still, they endured, because bare lips were whispers of weakness. Painted lips were proof of life. Imagine yourself at a banquet in Memphis. The air is heavy, with the scent of roasted goose, lotus blossoms floating in wine, the sweat of dancers moving in circles around the guests. Torches crackle, throwing shadows across the walls. Everyone is painted. Faces gleam, eyes dark, lips red. You see noble women leaning close to whisper secrets, their mouths glowing like pomegranate seeds. You see priests chanting, their lips lined with pigment so that every word of prayer carries the force of color. Even children wear the stain, tiny mouths painted so they resemble their mothers. To eat with red lips, to sing with red lips, to pray with red lips. This was not choice. It was order. But there is another layer, more subtle. Red was also dangerous. It was the color of Seth, the god of storms and chaos, the enemy of Horus. It was the hue of desert sand, of blood spilled in violence. To wear red was to flirt with danger, to hold power that could spill over into destruction. Perhaps this was part of the allure. Red lips were both sacred and sensual, holy and tempting. They marked you as alive, but also as a creature of desire. And so the line was drawn carefully. Too little pigment, and you looked weak, unfinished. Too much, and you looked vulgar, chaotic, a woman stepping too close to the fire. The balance itself was a ritual, a reminder that beauty was always a negotiation between order and temptation. You recall the words of an old hymn sung to Hathor. She comes with lips of red, and her voice brings life to the dead. This was not metaphor. To the Egyptians, the painted mouth carried literal power. Incantations spoken with red lips were thought to carry more weight. A kiss from painted lips was not just affection but blessing. Even death could not erase the habit. Mummies were found with pigment on their mouths, ready to speak prayers in the afterlife, with voices still bright, still alive. And yet, the cruelty hides in the details. The powders cracked, dried, left lips sore and raw. Mercury burned the flesh, caused ulcers, left women with pain hidden beneath the surface. But the ritual did not stop. To appear without painted lips was unthinkable. It was to admit mortality. So you endure. You press the pigment deeper, even when it stings. You smile faintly, though your mouth aches. The gods are watching. The guests are watching. Everyone must believe that you are eternal. The mirror reflects a stranger now. Your skin shines like bronze, your eyes blaze with coal, and your lips glow like fire. You look not human, but divine, and that was the goal, to present yourself as a living statue, polished and perfected, ready to stand among gods. But beneath it, you know the truth. The lips crack, the paint bleeds, the taste of minerals lingers bitter on your tongue. You drink wine to mask it, chew herbs to soothe it, but still it burns. Beauty is pain, and pain is balance. Outside, the night is alive with sound. Frogs croak along the river, insects hum in the reeds, music drifts from the temple precinct. You close your eyes, press your painted lips together, and breathe. For a moment, you almost believe. You are Hathor, radiant, divine, untouchable. Your beauty is not yours alone. It belongs to the order of the cosmos, to Ma'at. And yet, as the pigment dries and the skin cracks beneath it, you remember, this harmony is fragile. Tomorrow, the ritual will begin again. Tomorrow you will paint, and paint again, until the line between protection and poison vanishes. For now, though, you are complete. Your eyes are shielded, your skin shines, your lips glow with life. You are balanced, you are beautiful, you are safe. But the gods demand more. Beauty is never just one detail, never just skin, never just lips. The head must be perfected too. Hair, or the absence of it, carries its own burden of order. And so, As the night deepens, you reach for the razor. The razor waits for you on a low wooden tray, its copper edge gleaming faintly in the oil lamp light. It is not delicate, not meant to pamper. It is brutal, sharp, and merciless. Tonight, as on every night, the question returns, will you obey the order of beauty, or resist and face the whispers of impurity? In ancient Egypt, hair was not fashion. It was burden. It trapped dust from the desert, swarmed with lice in the heat, and marked you as unkempt if it grew unchecked. To be beautiful, to be clean, meant to be smooth, bare, and pure. For men and women alike, baldness was the standard, the sign of control. To keep hair was to carry chaos on your head. You take the razor in your hand. Its handle is simple wood, worn by years of use. The blade flashes with a coppery glint, dull in places from countless scrapes across countless scalps. A servant kneels beside you with a small bowl of water scented faintly with lotus. She dips a cloth and wrings it out, then presses it against your head to soften what stubble remains. When the razor bites, you wince. The scrape is rough, tugging at your scalp. Sometimes it glides, sometimes it skips, leaving small red marks. The copper is not kind. There is no cream, no cushion, only the ritual, the expectation. You endure the sting. To flinch would be weakness. Slowly, patch by patch, the hair disappears. A pile of coarse black strands gathers at your feet. The skin beneath emerges pale, tender, exposed. Each stroke feels like both liberation and punishment. When the final tuft is gone, you run your fingers across your scalp. Smooth, bare, acceptable. This was no trivial act. To shave the head was to declare oneself aligned with Ma'at, order, purity, discipline. Priests shaved, servants shaved, pharaohs shaved. Even children were shaved, their scalps left bare, except for the sidelock of youth. The act itself became a moral statement. To remove the wildness of hair was to tame the self, to prove worth. But beauty demanded more than bare skin. Baldness alone was not enough. The head must also be anointed. A servant steps forward with a jar of thick, perfumed oil. She dips her fingers and smooths it across your shining scalp, leaving a glimmer that catches the light. The fragrance rises, myrrh, lotus, cedar, masking the raw smell of copper and sweat. Yet the oil is not always kind. In the midday sun, it burns. It drips down the temples, slick and heavy. Dust clings to it. And still, you cannot refuse. An oiled bald head was a sign of refinement. Without it, you would look dry, cracked, unfinished, like a pot left unfired. Not all shaved willingly. The copper blades cut flesh as often as hair. Small scars crisscrossed the heads of even the noblest women. Infections followed, leaving permanent marks. The rich had access to better tools, sharper razors, careful servants. The poor did not. Yet the standard did not bend. Those who could not endure the bald head turned to wigs. And wigs in Egypt were not accessories. They were declarations of status. Some were simple, woven from their own shorn hair. Others were grand, heavy constructions of human hair, mixed with palm fiber, beeswax, and sometimes even wool imported from afar. The wealthy perfumed their wigs, dusted them with gold powder, or braided them into elaborate styles. To wear a wig was to rise above the ordinary. At banquets, rows of women sat glittering under heavy wigs, their shaved scalps hidden, their hairpieces shimmering with jewels. But wigs were burdens too. They baked in the sun, itched in the heat, and sometimes carried their own lice. Still, they could not be abandoned. A bare scalp in public was acceptable only in ritual. At court, or at feasts, the wig was required. There was cruelty in this cycle. Hair was shaved because it was impure. But wigs, built of hair, were celebrated because they were controlled, crafted, refined. Nature was shameful. Artifice was divine. And so, every few days the razor returned. The scalp was scraped, the oil applied, the wig fitted. Each step left its mark. Raw skin, scars, burns, hidden beneath the shimmering illusion of perfection. Even children bore it. Boys and girls alike were shaved smooth, except for the side lock of Horus, a single braid left hanging at the side, symbol of youth and divine favor. Imagine being small, sitting on the floor, head bowed as the copper razor scraped across tender skin. Imagine the sting, the fear, the weight of expectation already upon you before you even learned to write your name. Priests bore the ritual most intensely. To serve the gods meant absolute purity. They shaved not just their heads, but their entire bodies, arms, legs, chest, even brows. Every 3 days, the copper razors sang across their flesh. Every 3 days, they cut, bled, oiled, endured. To miss a shave was unthinkable. A single hair left unchecked was a mark of disorder, an insult to the gods. And so, night after night, the razors scraped, skin burned, oil stung, perfumes suffocated, yet they endured. Because in Egypt, to endure was to be beautiful, and to be beautiful was to be in harmony with the divine. Now, as you sit in the lamplight, your scalp gleams. The bowl of water is tinged pink with tiny streaks of blood. The razor rests on the tray, its work done for now. Your wig lies beside you, heavy, perfumed, braided. Soon it will be fitted, and you will transform again. You close your eyes and breathe. The cool night air brushes your bare scalp, almost soothing after the scrape. You remind yourself that this pain is purpose, that the gods demand it, that beauty is not comfort, but discipline. And yet, in the quiet, you cannot help but wonder, is this harmony, or is this cruelty hidden beneath ritual? You press a hand to your smooth head. Feel the sting of raw skin, and tell yourself it is worth it. Because to refuse is to fall out of order. To refuse is to fall into chaos. Tomorrow the razor will return. Tomorrow the cycle will begin again. And tomorrow you will obey. Because in Egypt obedience itself was beauty. But the head is not the only canvas. If the scalp was a stage for purity, the nails were tiny altars of refinement. They too carried rules, sharp and unforgiving. And so, as the wig is lowered onto your shining scalp, heavy and fragrant, you turn your gaze to your hands. The nails must be tended, polished, perfected. For beauty spares no part of the body. Your head is shaven, your scalp still tingling with the sting of copper, but the ritual is not finished. No part of the body can be left unattended. The gods demand harmony in every detail. And so your hands, too, must become offerings of beauty. You extend your fingers toward the waiting servant. They tremble slightly in the lamplight, not from weakness, but from anticipation. For here in Egypt, nails are not simply nails. They are small canvases of divine order, tiny mirrors of health, purity, and refinement. Each fingertip speaks of who you are, whether common servant or noble at the banquet table. A chipped, unpolished nail is as disgraceful as uncombed hair. The servant bows and uncorks a small clay jar. The scent escapes first, earthy, pungent, with a whisper of sweetness. Henna, crushed leaves, powdered fine, mixed with water into a deep red-brown paste. She dips a thin reed into the jar and begins to paint the mixture across your nails. The cool wetness clings to your skin. She presses it firmly into each cuticle, staining not just the nail but the edges of your fingers. You watch as the color spreads. At first it looks muddy, unpromising, but patience is part of the ritual. Hours later, when the paste dries and flakes away, it will leave behind the unmistakable crimson sheen that marks you as touched by refinement. In the stillness you notice your own breath, the slow rise and fall of your chest. The servant works silently, her motions practiced, careful not to waste a drop. She paints each nail evenly, coating them with devotion. This is not vanity, this is duty. A hand that touches food, that pours wine, that offers libations to the gods, it must look worthy. Among the wealthy, henna is a luxury ritual repeated often. Among the poor it is rare, reserved for festivals or weddings, but the meaning is the same. To stain the nails is to signal care, to prove that the body has been tended and prepared as carefully as the fields before the flood. You remember the warnings whispered by elders. Let your nails grow wild, and so will your spirit. Long, uncut nails were seen not as beauty, but as neglect, a mark of chaos creeping into order. And so, every few days, the knife or razor returned to pare them down. Children had their nails trimmed by mothers. Priests had them shaved clean as part of purification. No one escaped the law of the nails. But trimming alone was not enough. They must be polished, buffed smooth with small stones, sometimes rubbed with scented oils until they gleamed faintly in the light. A smooth nail meant discipline. A stained nail meant refinement. A broken nail meant shame. The servant's hands move to your toes now. She kneels, pressing the reed into the nails of your feet, spreading the henna paste carefully across each one. The smell grows stronger, earthy, bitter, cloying. You wrinkle your nose, but do not protest. For a moment you picture yourself at a banquet, reclining on cushions, your bare feet tucked beneath you, the red-stained nails flashing subtly as you gesture with your hands. They will notice. They always notice. There is danger, too, hidden beneath the ritual. Some who stain their nails also hide sickness. Fungal infections, sores, cracks in the skin, all concealed beneath the red veil of henna. A noble woman's hand, lifted gracefully in greeting, may glow with color yet burn with pain beneath. But to show that pain would be shameful. Better to hide it, to endure silently, than to be seen as imperfect. Henna itself, though natural, carried its own trials. The paste could irritate the skin, leaving rashes that stung for days. Sometimes it dyed unevenly, leaving blotches that mocked the desired harmony. And yet, no one refused. Even blotched nails were better than bare ones. As the paste dries, you feel its weight tightening across your fingers. You resist the urge to flex. To move too soon would ruin the pattern, waste the servant's work. So you sit in stillness, watching the lamplight dance on the copper bowl nearby, listening to the soft crackle of oil. This patience itself is part of the discipline. Beauty in Egypt is never instant. It is earned through waiting, through enduring, through the slow alchemy of ritual. When at last the paste is scraped away, you see the transformation. Your nails glow with a deep, earthy red, not the shine of modern varnish, but a muted, organic tone, like the clay of the Nile itself. The servant bows, satisfied. She oils your hands lightly, smoothing the color and soothing the dryness. You lift your hand before your eyes. In the dim light, the crimson nails look almost like drops of blood, frozen in place. They catch your breath with their starkness. You remember that these stains are more than beauty. They are symbols of life, fertility, rebirth. The same meanings henna carries in weddings, in burials, in offerings to the gods. Your nails are not just decoration. They are prayers painted in color. And so, with head shaved, scalp oiled, nails stained and polished, you begin to feel complete. But beauty does not end at the skin. It seeps into fragrance, into aura, into the very air around you. Without scent, you are unfinished. Without scent, you are mortal in a world that demands the divine. The next jar awaits. Alabaster, carved smooth, stoppered with wax. Inside, the sacred oils rest: myrrh, lotus, frankincense. Thick, potent, intoxicating. Soon your skin will be drenched, your body transformed into an offering of fragrance. And so, as the servant sets aside the jar of henna and reaches for the alabaster vial, you brace yourself. Because in Egypt, beauty was not only seen, it was breathed, inhaled, carried in every step you took. The jar is cool against your skin as the servant lifts it, alabaster smooth, heavy, with the weight of sacred oil. Even before the seal is broken, you know what waits within. The room is already hazed with incense, a sweet smoke that clings to the walls and weaves through your hair. But this jar contains something deeper, something that will cling to your very flesh. She prizes the stopper free, and instantly the air changes. A wave of scent unfurls, thick and lush: lotus, myrrh, cinnamon, frankincense. It coils into your nose, heavy, almost choking. You inhale despite yourself, your lungs filling with a sweetness so rich it borders on pain. This is not perfume as you know it today, dabbed lightly at the wrist or sprayed into the air. This is perfume as command, as transformation. In ancient Egypt, to be fragrant was not optional. It was law. The gods themselves were believed to exhale perfume. Their very presence perfumed the air. To smell good was to echo divinity. To smell bad, or worse, to smell of sweat, was to fall into disgrace. The servant tips the jar, and the oil slides thickly across your arm. It is warm, having sat all day near the brazier, and it clings like honey. She spreads it with practiced strokes, rubbing it into your skin until your arm gleams. The scent blooms stronger. Soon the air around you is heavy, saturated, every breath sticky with spice and flower. The oil seeps into your pores, softening, preserving. You know its purpose goes beyond surface beauty. The desert air is brutal, stripping skin into cracks, draining life with every gust of sand. Without oils, your flesh would dry and split, but with them, you shine, slick, supple, untouchable. Yet it is not comfort. The oils itch. They glisten on your skin until dust clings to you, turning the sheen into grit. At night, the bedclothes will stick, the sheets damp with scent and sweat, your dreams clouded by the smoke of myrrh. Still, you endure, because without it, you would not be seen as whole. You remember the words of the priests: "The body is an offering, let it smell of eternity." The wealthy drown themselves in oils. Kaifi, the the sacred blend of more than a dozen ingredients: honey, wine, raisins, frankincense, juniper berries, cinnamon, and resin, boiled into a thick, black syrup of smoke and sweetness. Chi-Fi was burned as incense to honor the gods, but it was also rubbed on the body. To wear it was to walk cloaked in ritual itself. Imagine reclining at a banquet. The lamps are low, the music of harps drifts through the air, and every guest around you smells of lotus oil. The fragrance is suffocating, so thick it overpowers the roasted meats on the tables, the wine in your cup. You lean close to whisper in someone's ear, and both of you carry the same perfume, mingling until you can barely tell one from the other. In that haze, individuality disappears. What remains is conformity, beauty by decree. For women, perfume was armor. The stronger the scent, the more alluring the aura. Men too drenched themselves in it. The pharaoh's robes were steeped in oils until they glistened, his very presence clouded in perfume so potent that servants fainted from it. In tomb paintings, the cone of scented fat atop the head, a perfumed wax that melted slowly through the night, symbolized perfection. As it dripped down the hair, it stained garments, leaving dark streaks, but it left behind the unmistakable trace of lotus and myrrh. But perfume could be poison too. The oils were thick, cloying, and sometimes rancid when mixed poorly. They clogged pores, irritated skin, and invited rashes. Some formulas carried toxic resins, substances that could burn if left too long. Yet no one dared abstain. To smell plain was worse than pain. The servant kneads the oil into your chest now, massaging it deep, pressing firmly until your skin glistens from collarbone to stomach. The weight of fragrance grows unbearable. It is not just on your skin. It fills your mouth, coats your tongue. You taste sweetness every time you swallow. Still, you remind yourself of the truth. Beauty is divine order. This perfume is not indulgence, it is alignment. The gods demand that humans echo their perfection. If you walk into the temple without scent, you are unworthy. If you present yourself before your family without oils, you are a disgrace. Even in death, your corpse must be anointed with oils, wrapped in linens, steeped in Chi-Fi, so that when you rise in the afterlife, you will breathe perfume instead of rot. There is another side, one whispered in the women's quarters, among the jars and powders. Perfume is also magic. Certain oils were believed to lure lovers, to bind hearts, to make one irresistible. A touch of lotus at the throat could stir passion. A smear of myrrh behind the ears could soften anger. Recipes for these potions were guarded as closely as temple scrolls. They were power in liquid form. And yet you cannot ignore the exhaustion. Day after day the ritual repeats. Each morning the scraping of scalp, the staining of nails, the drenching in perfume. Each night, the bedding ruined, the skin raw, the lungs clogged with incense. There is no escape, not for noble or servant, for everyone must smell divine, or not at all. The servant replaces the stopper, her fingers slick with oil. She wipes them on a rag and bows low. The jar is returned to its stand, gleaming faintly in the lamplight. Your body shines, glowing with fragrance. You are transformed, no longer yourself, but a vessel of scent, a walking altar. And yet, you are not finished. Because in Egypt, beauty must extend even further, beyond skin, beyond nails, beyond fragrance, into the very eyes. They say the eyes are the windows of the soul. In Egypt, they were also the windows of status, of magic, of survival itself. The next jar is smaller, carved of black stone, filled with the most dangerous beauty tool of all, kohl. A powder so dark it could blind you, so potent it was said to ward off demons. Soon, your eyes will be rimmed with lines that stretch like wings, both shield and snare. And so, the ritual continues. The little stone jar is cool in your palm, heavier than it looks. Its lid is worn smooth, rubbed by countless fingers before yours. You lift it slowly, and a puff of darkness rises, a faint cloud of mineral dust that clings to the air. The smell is sharp, metallic, with the faintest trace of earth, as if you've cracked open a piece of the desert itself. Inside is the powder, black, fine, almost shimmering in the lamplight. This is kohl. To the Egyptians, it is not just makeup, it is protection, it is medicine, it is magic, and above all, it is beauty. A slender stick lies beside the jar, bone or ivory, smooth from years of use. The servant dips it gently into the powder, twists it, then lifts it free. The tip now gleams with black, heavy with pigment. You do not move as she leans close. You can smell the oil on her hands, the faint musk of sweat beneath the perfume. You can hear her steady breath as the stick rises toward your face. The first touch is strange, cool, gritty, dragging across the edge of your eyelid. The powder clings instantly, streaking black against your skin. She draws it carefully along the lash line, pressing, smudging, sculpting. You want to blink, but you dare not. The stick is sharp, the powder bitter if it touches the eye. A single flinch, and the ritual is ruined. Slowly, she works her way outward, tracing the line into a wing, long, elegant, curving toward the temples. This is the shape that makes the gods recognize you. The Eye of Horus, the eternal symbol, carried on your own body. You are being inscribed into divinity. But beneath the beauty lies danger. The powder is not harmless. It is made of galena, a mineral rich in lead, ground fine and mixed with oil or fat. Day after day, year after year, it seeps into the skin, into the bloodstream. It darkens the lids, protects against glare, wards off infection, or so the priests say. But it also poisons, slowly, invisibly. You think of the children, their eyes ringed in black from the time they can walk. You think of the old women, their skin grayed, their bodies weakened, yet their eyes still rimmed, still painted, even in illness. No one escapes. Beauty is law. Kohl is law. And yet, there is comfort in it too. The lines shield your eyes from the sun, cutting the glare of the desert. The powder soothes, sometimes even heals, mixed with herbs and resins. And in the darkness of night, when lamps burn low and shadows stretch, your eyes gleam wide, larger than life, rimmed with mystery. At a banquet, imagine the sight, every guest with eyes elongated into perfect curves, the room filled with glances both seductive and severe. Words become secondary. A glance is enough. A tilt of the eye speaks of longing, of disdain, of secrets, and all of it framed in black. The servant dips the stick again, then moves to the other eye. The process repeats. Drag, press, smudge. Your eyes water, tears gathering, threatening to spill. The powder stings slightly, burning where it touches the skin. You resist the urge to rub. You hold still. You let the ritual mark you. When it is finished, she steps back. You open your eyes wide, and the world changes. The lines stretch your gaze, make your eyes seem enormous, inhuman. In the polished bronze mirror nearby, you see yourself transformed, no longer ordinary, now something mythic, a reflection of the gods. But you know the cost. Already your eyelids feel heavy, as if weighted. Tomorrow, when the kohl mixes with sweat, it will run, streaking dark rivers down your cheeks. Tomorrow, the skin beneath your eyes may swell, red, and irritated, but you will apply it again. Because to go without is unthinkable. In tomb paintings, the gods themselves are drawn, with eyes lined in kohl, their gaze eternal. Pharaohs carried the look into battle, believing it gave them the protection of Horus. Mothers painted it on infants, whispering prayers to keep away evil spirits. And in the quiet hours of the temple, priests rimmed their eyes before approaching the altar, so that their gaze would be as piercing as the sun. Everywhere you look, eyes stare back, wide, dark, outlined in power. To be unlined is to be unguarded, naked, vulnerable to demons and disease. To be painted is to be armored, beautiful, complete. The jar is sealed again, the stick wiped clean, laid gently on its stand. Your eyes sting, but they shine. You are a vessel of beauty, no longer just flesh and bone. You are something more. And yet you know the ritual does not end here. For beauty in Egypt must extend to every detail. The hair, the wigs, the headdresses, the very crown of the head. Each strand, each braid, each curl, arranged with care, with oils, with ornaments that could crush the neck beneath their weight. You feel the servant move behind you. Her fingers lift your hair, separating strands, smoothing them with oil. Soon you will feel the tug of braids, the heat of wigs, the pressure of gold and beads pressing into your scalp. Another layer of beauty, another burden to bear. The ritual continues. The fingers at your scalp are slick with oil. They glide through your hair, parting, smoothing, taming. The scent rises immediately, sweet lotus, sharp myrrh, and something heavier, almost musky. It clings to your skin, settles in your nostrils, saturates the air until the whole room feels thick with perfume. Your own hair is not enough. No one's is. Not here, not in Egypt. The desert air is too dry, the sun too fierce, the sand too cruel. Real hair breaks, frays, burns away under the relentless sun, so you will wear another's. Or perhaps many others. Knock. From a carved cedar chest, the servant lifts a wig, heavy, long, dark, strands of human hair, woven tightly with threads of plant fiber. It gleams where the lamplight catches it, as if each strand were dipped in oil. The wig is dense, layered, built to last. It is not just fashion. It is protection. A shield against the sun, a mask for the world, a crown of identity. She lowers it onto your head. The weight is immediate. It presses against your scalp, drags at the nape of your neck, clamps down with the force of its heft. You breathe in sharply. This is the beauty of Egypt. Not light, not free, but deliberate, sculpted, worn like armor. The wig settles into place, and the servant begins to braid. Her fingers tug firmly, pulling strands tight, weaving them into neat rows. The braids multiply, small and intricate, each one bound with beeswax and oil to hold its shape. At the ends, she ties beads of faience, little clinking ornaments that rattle faintly as she works. The sound is soothing, rhythmic, twist, tug, tie, click, over and over, until your head is a tapestry of plaits and beads. Each braid has meaning. Some signal wealth, others fertility. Some are simply fashion, meant to catch the eye of those who matter. The wig is not static. It changes with seasons, with moods, with events. For mourning it may be simple, unadorned. For festivals it may shine with gold foil, inlaid with lapis, decorated with lotus petals pressed between braids. But always it must be heavy, Always it must transform the ordinary head into something remarkable. The burden is real. Your scalp aches from the tugging. Your neck strains beneath the weight. On hot days, sweat pools beneath the layers, trickling down your temples, caught in the oily base of the wig. It itches, it burns. Yet you endure. Everyone endures. In the courtyards, women sit in rows while their wigs are combed and redressed. Children fidget under the hands of mothers who tug and pull, already training them in the weight of beauty. Even men, soldiers and scribes, wear wigs, shorter, squared at the shoulders, but just as oiled, just as carefully arranged. To go bareheaded is to be exposed, to be unkempt, to be less. The wig is your crown, your dignity, your shield. Without it you are incomplete. The servant takes a jar of perfumed wax and rubs it gently into the strands. The sheen grows brighter, slick, almost wet-looking in the firelight. She works methodically, coating every braid, pressing the wax into every fiber. The smell grows stronger, heady, intoxicating. The air feels thick with sweetness, until even breathing seems like drinking perfume. And then, the ornaments. She threads beads of turquoise along the edges, strings of shells woven between braids, little pieces of hammered gold dangling so they will catch the sun. Each one adds weight. Each one makes your neck bow slightly more, but each one also elevates you from mortal to almost divine. The effect, once finished, is undeniable. In the polished bronze mirror, you see a head not of your own hair, but of shining strands sculpted into art. The beads sway when you tilt your head. The ornaments catch the light, scattering it in fragments of blue and gold. You look taller, more commanding, more perfect. But the perfection has a cost. You know that the wax will melt in the sun, dripping hot along your neck. You know that the beads will clink and tangle, that the wig will grow heavier with sweat, that insects may burrow into the layers if you are careless. You know that sometimes the scalp itself breaks out in sores beneath the constant pressure and heat. Yet you will wear it, because beauty is not meant to be comfortable. Beauty is meant to be endured. In tomb paintings, queens are shown with wigs thick as waterfalls, their braids lined with lotus flowers, their crowns perched atop like suns. Even in death, the wigs remain. In burial chambers they are placed carefully beside the body, oiled and preserved, waiting for eternity. To be reborn in the afterlife without one would be unthinkable. And for the living, the wigs carry power. A woman with a towering headdress of braids and beads commands attention. Her presence fills the room before she even speaks. Her beauty is a language, her wig a sentence written across her very body. I am worthy. I am seen. I am in harmony with Ma'at. The servant steps back now, her work complete. Your neck throbs faintly. Your scalp feels sore, but you hold your head high. The wig sways slightly as you breathe, heavy but alive, as if carrying the energy of everyone whose hair was woven into it. You rise slowly from the stool, the ornaments clinking, the beads rattling, the wig shifting with your every move. The air feels warmer now, thicker, perfumed with oil and wax. You are more than yourself. You are a vision of Egypt, sculpted, perfected, and burdened by beauty. And yet, this is only one layer. The eyes and the hair are complete, but the skin must be perfected too, polished, softened, painted with colors drawn from the earth itself: clay, ochre, malachite. The body must become a canvas, painted into harmony with the gods. You return to your seat, the wig heavy on your head, the coal still burning faintly at the corners of your eyes. A new jar is brought forward, its lid sealed with wax. When it opens, the scent of crushed minerals and fat rises up. This is the beginning of the skin's transformation, the next step in the ritual of beauty. The jar opens with a soft crack, and the scent that rises is unlike the perfumes before. Not sweet, not floral, but earthy. The smell of crushed stone, of dry red earth after rain, of mineral dust carried on the desert wind. The servant dips a small ivory spatula into the paste and lifts out a smear of color. It glows faintly in the lamplight, red as blood, smooth with oil. She holds it out to you with reverence, as though she were presenting an offering at the temple. This is not decoration. This is protection. This is magic. She touches the ochre to your cheek, spreading it gently, evenly. The texture is gritty at first, small grains dragging across your skin, but the oil softens it, melts it into warmth. The red spreads in a thin layer, tinting your skin with the color of life itself. Ochre is more than pigment. It is blood, it is fire, it is the earth's own heart ground down into powder. In Egypt, to cover your skin with ochre is to invite vitality, to shield yourself from decay, to glow with the warmth of Ra's own sun. On festival days, women's cheeks gleam with ochre, their lips painted deep red, their bodies dusted faintly with the same color so that they shimmer in torchlight. The desert might parch the flesh, but ochre restores it, or at least it convinces the eye that it has been restored. Next comes the green. The servant opens another jar, smaller, darker. Inside lies crushed malachite, ground fine mixed with fat, until it is a smooth, gleaming paste. The color is deep and rich, green like reeds at the edge of the Nile, green like life where otherwise there is only sand. She dips her brush and paints the paste across your temples, faint strokes that catch the light as your head turns. Malachite is no ordinary mineral. It is sacred to Hathor, the goddess of joy and love, she who wears the turquoise crown. The green protects the skin, draws away illness, shields against the sun's cruel heat. You breathe in, and even the faint metallic scent of the mineral feels protective, as though it could armor your very blood. At your side, another jar waits, filled with black pigment, soot mixed with resin, or powdered galena drawn from the desert cliffs. This, too, has its role. Black is the color of fertile soil, of rebirth, of Osiris himself. It outlines the eyes, deepens the gaze, and gives the body an air of mystery and strength. The servant rubs it across your shoulders, a thin smear that blends with oil, darkening your skin faintly. In the firelight your body gleams, sculpted by shadow and shine. You are not just flesh. You are form, designed, reshaped by Earth's own palette. The ritual is not only for beauty. The desert is merciless. Its heat cracks the skin, its glare burns the flesh. To coat yourself in pigments and oils is to defend against that cruelty. Malachite shields the eyes from sun's dazzle. Ochre protects against dryness, infection. Galena wards off flies and disease. But defense becomes display. The line between medicine and beauty is blurred. And so the colors are layered, perfected, made brighter, thicker. You are safe, but you are also transformed. Imagine now the gatherings by the Nile, where women dance in the evening air, their cheeks glowing red, their temples streaked green, their arms oiled until they shine like bronze. Men, too, painted, perfumed, adorned. In the torchlight, all shimmer as if carved from gemstones. To go without paint would be unthinkable. Bare skin is vulnerable, ordinary. Painted skin is divine. It says to the world, I am not simply alive. I am aligned with Ma'at. I am balanced. I am worthy of Ra's gaze. The servant now dusts fine powder across your chest. It glitters faintly, crushed hematite perhaps, or mica ground so thin it gleams like stars. Your body becomes not just protected, not just colored, but radiant. The powder catches every flicker of light, making you shimmer as though you carry fire beneath your skin. It is heavy, in a way. The oils cling, the pigments thicken, the powders coat. Every movement feels slower, weighted, as though your very body has been lacquered. Yet that is the point. Beauty here is not ease. Beauty is endurance, the patient layering of discomfort until it becomes awe. Your reflection in the bronze mirror is strange now. Your cheeks burn with ochre. Your temples glow with green malachite. Your skin is darker, gleaming, dusted with faint sparkles. You look less like yourself and more like a statue, carved, painted, polished into meaning. Behind you the servant bows her head. She does not need to say it. The gods are watching. They see the colors. They recognize the order. Painted skin is not vanity. It is a promise. I uphold the balance. I carry the beauty of the world upon my flesh. And yet, you feel the cost. The paste clogs the pores. The oils trap the heat. The pigments itch faintly as they dry. Later they will smear, leaving marks on fabric, on hands, on anything you touch. Later you will need to scrub for hours to remove the thick layers, to let your skin breathe again. But for now, you endure, for beauty in Egypt is not about comfort. It is about survival, about devotion, about becoming more than human. The servant sets aside the jars, wiping her hands on linen cloth. You sit in silence, your skin glowing, your body fragrant with mineral and oil. Outside, the desert wind moves across the city, carrying sand and dust. But inside, your body is sealed, painted, armored, against it all. There is one more step, though. The paint is not complete without scent. Skin may be colored, oiled, polished, but it must also announce itself. Beauty in Egypt is not only seen, it is smelled. From another chest, the servant lifts a tiny alabaster jar, sealed with resin. When she cracks it open, the aroma spills instantly into the air. Sweet, intoxicating, overwhelming. Frankincense, myrrh, lotus, cinnamon. A perfume that will cling to your painted skin, binding the transformation in scent. The lid breaks with a soft crack, and the air shifts. A veil of fragrance pours over you, richer than anything you have yet touched. It is warm, sweet, almost intoxicating, like honey thickened with sun. Notes of resin cling to the edges, sharp and smoky, curling into your nose and chest. Beneath it, a cool, floral softness drifts, the ghost of a lotus pond at night. You do not merely smell it. You breathe it in, and it coils through you like smoke through a chamber, winding into your blood. The servant dips a finger into the jar and lifts a dark, sticky resin. She smears it across your neck, and the perfume blooms on your skin, heat unlocking its depths. This is not the fleeting touch of modern fragrance, meant to fade. Egyptian perfume clings, melts into the flesh, binds itself to you until you are inseparable from it. Perfume in Egypt is more than adornment, it is divine. The gods themselves are said to sweat fragrance, their temples perfumed with incense day and night. To carry perfume on your skin is to align yourself with them, to announce not only your presence but your sanctity. The lotus is sacred to Nefertem, god of beauty and healing. To smell of lotus is to carry his blessing, to walk with his favor. Frankincense and myrrh rise in smoke at every temple, pleasing Ra, soothing the spirits of the dead. Cinnamon, rare and costly, travels across deserts and seas, proof of wealth, of connection to the farthest corners of the earth. Each note is not just a smell. It is a declaration, it is status, it is protection, it is prayer. The servant rubs more onto your chest, your wrists, the hollow of your throat. With every touch, you feel heavier, not from the weight itself, but from the power it represents. The perfume is sticky, clinging, staining the linen. Its scent will linger for days, embedding itself into your very pores. Around you, the chamber fills with it. The air grows thick, golden, almost smoky. Every breath carries sweetness. Every breath reminds you, this is not a human fragrance, this is divine air. In Egypt, scent is survival. The Nile Valley is rich, but it is also harsh. Sweat, rot, fish, the tang of the river, the stench of bodies in the heat. These are the natural smells of life. Perfume transforms it. Perfume masks it. Perfume makes the body bearable, desirable, sacred. And so, no body is left bare. Men and women alike coat themselves in scent, their wigs and hair steeped in fragrant oils, their rooms fumigated with incense, their very breath flavored with resins chewed for freshness. Think of the banquet halls. Guests arrive, their skin glistening, their cheeks painted, and on their heads perfumed cones of wax sit like crowns. As the night wears on, the cones melt slowly, releasing streams of fragrance that drip down the wigs, down the faces, coating the air in sweetness. The banquet is not only a feast for the mouth or the eyes, it is a feast for the nose. Without perfume, it would collapse into stink. With perfume, it becomes a glimpse of paradise. The servant dips again into the jar, and this time she smears the resin across your hairline, massaging it into your scalp. The scent deepens, richer, warmer, overwhelming. It is as though the gods themselves lean closer to breathe upon you. Your body is now a vessel, painted with color, oiled with shine, and cloaked in divine scent. You no longer belong to the ordinary. You are marked, transformed, sacred. And yet, as with all beauty, the sweetness hides a cost. The perfume is thick, sticky, impossible to wash away. Its oils trap the heat against your body. Its sweetness clings until even sleep cannot escape it. Too much, and the body itself turns sickly with the weight of it. But moderation is not the Egyptian way of beauty. If beauty is divine order, then excess is proof of devotion. To endure the heaviness of scent is to show your loyalty, your endurance, your willingness to suffer for harmony. Imagine walking through a temple courtyard, the sun blazing, the stones baking, and your body radiating scent as though you yourself were an altar. Heads turn, not only for the sight of you, painted and polished, but for the aura you carry. People breathe you in before they see you. They know before you speak that you are chosen, sacred, adorned. This is the true function of perfume, to speak for you without words, to announce you before your steps, to make your presence unforgettable. The servant caps the jar at last, sealing away the resin with resin to keep it from spoiling. She sets it aside with care. Around you, the scent lingers, thick and heavy, as though invisible incense burns in the chamber. Your skin is no longer only skin. It is surface, painted and perfumed, turned into a symbol, a declaration of who you are, of who you wish to be seen as. And in Egypt, that is everything. For here, beauty is not optional. Beauty is order. Beauty is divine. But now, as you sit perfumed and painted, another tool of beauty is brought forth. Not stone, not pigment, not resin, but hair itself. Wigs, braids, curls, ornaments of ivory and gold. For in Egypt, the body was not complete without the crown of hair to frame it. The servant lifts a wig from its wooden stand, shaking it out so that the braids tumble like ropes, shining with oil. It smells faintly of resin and lotus, steeped in perfume until every strand is soaked. She brings it toward your head. The wig hovers just above your scalp, heavy and gleaming. The servant's arms strain slightly as she lowers it, careful not to tangle the long, braided strands. When it touches your head, it feels like a second skull settling into place, warm, perfumed, and weighted with oil. At first, it is strange. The braids tickle your cheeks and neck. The weight drags at your skin. But soon, the fragrance of lotus and resin spreads from the wig itself, blending with the oils on your body, and you feel yourself cocooned inside a new identity. Because in Egypt, hair was never only hair. It was a crown, a mask, a signal to gods and mortals alike. Shaved heads were the standard for many. Priests cut theirs clean to remain pure, free of lice, free of worldly distraction. Servants and children often went bare as well, a single lock sometimes left dangling as a mark of youth. In the desert heat, it was practical, yet practicality is rarely beautiful. Beauty, in Egypt, demanded more. So the Egyptians invented the wig, not the flimsy disguises of later centuries, but monumental, sculpted works of art. Human hair, imported horsehair, fibers of palm, wool, all braided and woven, bound into thick ropes, lacquered with oils until they shone like obsidian under the sun. A shaved head was bare clay, a wig was sculpture, and you, sitting here, are about to be sculpted. The servant adjusts the braids, parting them into neat rows. Each plait has been rubbed with castor oil, making it supple, gleaming, and heavy. The braids fall evenly across your shoulders, framing your face, making it narrower, sharper, more deliberate. This is not natural hair. This is perfection imposed on nature. Above your forehead, beads of faïence glint in the lamplight. Some wigs were decorated with gold dust, lapis, even pearls. The rich turned their wigs into crowns, temples of wealth and devotion. Even the poor did what they could, weaving cheap beads into their braids, imitating the shimmer of the elite. Because to walk bareheaded was to be incomplete. To wear a wig was to be whole. Think of the banquets again, men reclining with wigs so thick and heavy they seem sculpted from stone. Women with braids hanging like waterfalls, perfumed cones melting into them, dripping fragrance with every movement. Children scampering with smaller wigs, mimicking their parents, preparing already to play their roles in society. The hall flickers with torchlight, and the wigs catch it all. Glints of gold, gleams of resin, reflections of power. Without them, the room would seem stripped. With them, it blazes. The wig on your head itches faintly where the braids scrape against your scalp. You resist the urge to scratch. Beauty here is not comfort. It is endurance. The oils are thick, seeping down into the shaved skin, gluing themselves into the pores. If you sleep in this, you will wake with it stuck, heavy, oppressive. But to wear it in daylight, To walk into the street or the temple with braids gleaming is to be seen as more than mortal. Wigs declare identity. A simple bob of braids might belong to a scribe or servant. A vast mass of curls, tiered like a pyramid, belongs to nobility. Certain patterns were reserved for certain ranks. Even in silence, the wig spoke louder than words. This is who I am. This is who I will be treated as. The servant ties the final braid back with a strip of leather, then steps back. You catch sight of yourself in the polished bronze mirror. The transformation is startling. You no longer look like the person who walked in. Your face is sharper, narrower, framed by braids that gleam like ropes of night. Your body is perfumed, painted, polished. The wig completes it, like the capstone on a pyramid. You are not only human, you are an ideal. But, as with every ideal, there is a burden. The wigs are hot, heavy, suffocating under the desert sun. Sweat collects beneath them, and the oils that make them gleam drip into your eyes, sting your skin. Some say the wigs smell too strong, too heavy with perfume, overwhelming the senses. Yet to remove them would be unthinkable. To endure them is proof of devotion, proof of refinement. Even in death, wigs matter. Mummies are buried with hair carefully arranged, or with wigs packed beside them, as though they will walk into eternity adorned, never bare. Hair, after all, was a sign of vitality, of youth, of life itself. To step into the afterlife without it would be shameful, incomplete. The servant presses a small comb into your hand. Its teeth are carved from ivory, etched with tiny lotus petals. She shows you how to drag it carefully through the braids, to neaten the lines, to control the flow of hair. You practice, the comb snagging against the oily strands, and she nods with approval. This, too, is part of the ritual. Beauty is not only something done to you, it is something you maintain, every day, every night, with devotion and patience. Outside, the desert night has cooled. A breeze drifts through the open door, carrying with it the smell of Nile mud, fish, smoke from distant cooking fires. But in this chamber, you smell only of perfume, oil, resin, and hair gleaming like polished stone. The contrast is sharp, jarring. Out there is life. In here is transformation. You sit taller, heavier, with your new crown of braids. The wig does not simply cover your head. It changes how you feel, how you move, how you exist. You are not just a person of Egypt. You are a creation of it. The servant gathers the tools, combs, oils, jars, pigments, and sets them aside. The transformation, for now, is complete. But there is still more to come, because beauty in Egypt is never finished. Already she is fetching something else: jewelry, rings and bangles, broad collars of faience and gold. Because no wig, no paint, no perfume is enough without the shimmer of metal and stone. Your crown of braids may declare your identity, but jewelry will declare your soul. The wig is still heavy on your head, but now another weight is coming. Not the burden of hair and resin, but the cool touch of stone, the firm clasp of gold. The servant opens a low chest beside her. Inside, the lamplight scatters across a bed of color: turquoise, carnelian, lapis lazuli, bands of faience beads threaded in tight rows. Gold glints everywhere, not pale and thin like later ages would wear, but thick, hammered into wide collars and heavy rings. You inhale, and it almost feels like breathing light. Because in Egypt, jewelry was not decoration, it was power, it was protection. It was a voice in the silent language of beauty. The first piece she lifts is a broad collar. Hundreds of small faience beads, blue and green, bound in neat rows with golden spacers. It is wide enough to cover your chest, heavy enough that when she places it around your neck, your shoulders bow slightly under its weight. The beads are cool against your skin, warmed only by the oil that still glistens there. As it settles, you feel contained, framed, armored. Not bare flesh, but ornamented form. You are no longer just yourself. You are part of Egypt's tapestry. The collar does not only shine, it speaks. Blue for the Nile and sky, green for rebirth and crops, gold for the sun, eternal and indestructible. To wear this is not to wear fashion. It is to wrap yourself in symbols, to carry the gods' language on your body. Next, she slides bangles over your wrists. They are tight, pinching faintly, cold at first, then warming as your pulse beats against them. Gold gleams as it catches the torchlight, sending little flashes into the shadows of the chamber. On your ankles she fastens rings of carnelian and turquoise. With every small movement, they clink, a soft reminder of restraint and display. Jewelry announces you even when you are silent. Even when you are asleep, it whispers, "This body is not ordinary." The Egyptians adored jewelry beyond what most civilizations ever attempted. Children wore strings of beads. Servants wore amulets for protection. Pharaohs, of course, were buried with treasures that would shame entire empires. Because gold was not just beautiful, it was eternal. Unlike bronze, it never tarnished. Unlike wood, it never rotted. It gleamed today, it gleamed yesterday, it would gleam 10,000 years from now. To the Egyptians, this was proof of its divinity. To wear gold was to wear immortality on your skin. Your servant lifts a mirror of polished bronze so you can see. The reflection is imperfect, blurry, but the shimmer is unmistakable. The heavy collar catches your breath. The bangles circle your wrists like shackles of light. The anklets chime softly when you shift. It is not comfortable. The collar cuts slightly against your collarbones. The bangles feel like weights dragging on your arms. But comfort is not the point. Beauty here is about endurance, about holding yourself with composure even when every ornament presses into you. And so you straighten, ignoring the pinch of gold, the pull of beads. You let the jewelry define you, as though you were a statue in a temple, clothed not in flesh but in eternal shine. At banquets, jewelry did more than adorn, it divided. Those who wore wide collars of gold sat nearer the pharaoh. Those with mere faience beads stayed at the edges. Even the sound of jewelry carried status. A noble's anklets chiming against polished floors, a servant's bare feet silent in the dust. Jewelry could protect too. Many pieces doubled as amulets. Scarabs of lapis carved with spells. Eyes of Horus pressed against the heart. Knot-shaped charms meant to bind chaos, to hold back the bite of scorpions and snakes. To wear jewelry was to shield yourself in color and meaning. Every piece was both beauty and magic, woven so tightly together they could not be separated. The servant adds rings to your fingers now, one on each hand. They gleam like suns against the cold, darkened lines of your nails. She presses them firmly, adjusting them so that they fit snugly. Too loose, and they would slip in the heat. Too tight, and the flesh would swell. You flex your hands, feeling how heavy even small things can become when multiplied. The clink of stone, the shimmer of gold, the faint fragrance of resin clinging to the beads, it all merges into a kind of music, a slow, shimmering hymn of wealth and devotion. But jewelry was not only for the living. The dead wore it too, sometimes more lavishly than they ever had in life. Mummies were wrapped with strings of beads, collars laid on their chests, rings slipped onto stiffened fingers. To arrive in the afterlife bare would be shameful, dangerous. To arrive gleaming was to arrive powerful. And so the Egyptians hoarded, saved, buried themselves with treasures. Not vanity, but insurance. Not luxury, but survival beyond death. You feel yourself sinking under the weight now. Wig, coal, perfume, jewelry, each layer building not toward comfort, but toward transformation. You are heavier, slower, not your ordinary self. You are adorned, sculpted, ritualized. Even the servants bow slightly as they adjust the final pieces, as though you have already stepped across a boundary between mortal and divine. Because in Egypt, jewelry was more than wealth. It was shimmer that declared order, protection, eternity. It was proof that beauty was never casual. It was sacred. The servant steps back, surveying her work. The collar gleams across your chest. The bangles clink softly as you move. The rings flash when you shift your hands. You catch another look in the mirror. Distorted, yes, but striking. You are not only human now, you are radiant. And yet, there is still more. Because what is the shimmer of jewelry without the scent of flowers, without the softness of petals pressed against the skin? The servant is already reaching for the garlands, strings of lotus, mandrake, and jasmine woven fresh. Perfume was not enough. Even jewelry was not enough. To be truly beautiful in Egypt, one must carry the garden too. The jewelry glitters, heavy and divine. But the Egyptians knew something gold could never give: life itself. Gold was eternal, yes, but cold. It shone without fragrance. It dazzled without breath. And so, they crowned their beauty not only in metal and stone, but in flowers, living, fragrant, soft against the skin. The servant steps away from the chest of jewels and opens another basket. Inside, the cool green stems of lotus lie across damp linen, their petals wide, blue and white. Bundles of mandrake with thick, knotted roots rest beside coils of jasmine, their blossoms pale and delicate, like little stars fallen from the sky. The scent rises immediately. It mixes with the resin already on your skin, the oil still slick on your arms, the faint smoke of the lamp. It is overwhelming, rich, dizzying. She takes a garland of lotus first, its petals still damp from water. With careful hands, she places it around your neck, resting just above the heavy collar of beads. The contrast is sharp. The cold weight of stone and gold pressing from below, the softness of petals brushing against your throat from above. You inhale, and suddenly the chamber feels different, less like a place of preparation, more like a garden, more like the banks of the Nile at dusk. The smell is clean, watery, earthy. Lotus was no casual ornament. It was sacred. It opened at dawn and closed at night, reborn every morning, an eternal cycle the Egyptians saw as divine. To wear it was to breathe that cycle, to embody renewal. Next, the servant gathers a cluster of mandrake blossoms. Their roots were strange, human-like, sometimes shaped like limbs. Their fruit, small yellow berries, was rumored to be an aphrodisiac, a stimulant, a medicine. But tonight, they are not medicine. Tonight, they are beauty. She weaves the mandrake blossoms into your wig, sliding them among the braids so that their scent rises whenever you move your head. The smell is sharper than lotus, earthier, with a faint bitter edge. Not everyone would find it pleasant. But beauty was not always about pleasantness. Sometimes, it was about power, about announcing that you carried something rare, potent, dangerous even. Finally, jasmine. She strings the blossoms into a delicate crown and places it on your head. The petals brush your brow, their fragrance light, almost sweet. If the lotus was rebirth, and the mandrake was potency, then jasmine was allure, soft, irresistible. It made the air itself lean toward you. The garlands weigh little compared to the jewelry, but they transform more than anything else so far. They soften the gleam of gold, blur the severity of coal, make you less a statue, more a living idol. In Egypt, flowers were not just decoration, they were philosophy. To wear them was to say, I am alive, I am renewed, I am connected to the gods through the cycle of bloom and decay. Banquets were heavy with their scent. Guests arrived crowned with lotus and garlands, cups of wine held in perfumed hands. At feasts, garlands would wilt, petals would fall into bowls and goblets, and that was part of their beauty. To be adorned with something living meant accepting that it would die, that it would fade even as you enjoyed it. Beauty was not eternal, except when woven with gold. The servant drapes another garland across your chest, layering the fragrance over the sharp resin, over the metallic tang of gold. You shift slightly, and petals brush your skin, cool, fleeting. The effect is overwhelming. You feel not only adorned, but alive, as though every breath is another offering to the gods. Because flowers, like all beauty in Egypt, were not trivial, they were ritual. To wear them was to invite paradise to earth, to blur the line between garden and temple. Think of the tomb paintings, banqueters in white linen robes, lotus blossoms pressed to their noses, garlands circling their necks, their eyes closed, their heads tilted back in pleasure, not vanity, but worship. To inhale the lotus was to inhale eternity. And think, too, of the dead. Even mummies were laid with flowers, garlands wrapped around stiffened bodies, petals scattered across sarcophagi. In the darkness of the tomb, wilted blossoms whispered the same message they did in life: renewal. You tilt your head, and a blossom brushes your cheek. The scent fills your lungs. The garland rests cool against your skin. For a moment you feel weightless, despite the jewelry, despite the wig. The flowers remind you of the river, of fields, of breath. They remind you that beauty is not only carved and painted, but fleeting, fragrant, living. And in that moment you understand why the Egyptians crowned themselves with gardens. Because what is eternal gold without the reminder of life that ends? What is beauty without the ache of knowing it will fade? The chamber is thick with fragrance now, resin, oil, petals, smoke. You are almost dizzy, swaying slightly as the servant steps back. She bows her head as though even she feels it, that you are no longer only human. You are adorned as they would adorn a goddess, wig of braids, kohl-rimmed eyes, painted lips, collar of gold, bangles of stone, garlands of lotus, jasmine, mandrake. You are a beauty made into ritual, body into shrine. The flowers will wilt, the petals will brown and fall, leaving stains on the beads, smears on the linen. But that is the point. Beauty was never meant to last. Not here, not in Egypt. What mattered was the act of blooming, the moment of display, the fragrance carried for an evening before it drifted into memory. And as the final blossom is pressed into your hair, you feel it. The weight of beauty is not only heavy with gold and resin, it is heavy with time, with life itself. Tomorrow the flowers will wither, tomorrow the oil will fade, tomorrow the coal will smear, but tonight you are radiant. And still, there is more. Because the Egyptians did not only crown themselves in gardens, they turned beauty into performance. They sang, they danced, they moved in rhythm with their adornments. To be beautiful in Egypt was not only to sit still, heavy and radiant. It was to move, to dazzle, to let the jewelry clink, the garlands sway, the perfume trail behind you like incense. The chamber is heavy with fragrance. Resin clings to the air, lotus crowns your neck, gold weighs down your chest, and jasmine trembles against your brow. But beauty in Egypt was never meant to stay still. You shift slightly, and the bangles slide against your wrists with a hollow, ringing clink. The servant looks up. She has finished adorning you, but she does not step back entirely. Instead, she gestures toward the polished floor, wide, open, shining faintly from the oil that has seeped into the stone over years of footsteps. Here, beauty is not only something to wear, it is something to perform. The Egyptians loved dance. In tomb paintings and temple reliefs, dancers move in lines, their limbs curved with elegance, their hair swaying, their jewelry catching the light. At festivals, in banquets, in temples, movement itself was ritual. You rise slowly, the garlands shifting as you straighten, the jewels feel heavier when you stand. But the moment you take your first step, they come alive. The collar rocks against your chest, beads clicking softly. The anklets chime as your foot brushes the ground. The garlands sway, petals brushing against your skin. Beauty was never meant to be frozen like a statue. It was meant to move, to catch the eye in motion, to spill fragrance when you turned your head, to make the light chase after you. Imagine it, a banquet on the banks of the Nile, the air warm, the night sky thick with stars. Musicians play harp and flute, drums thrum low and steady. Dancers enter, their arms wide, their hips swaying, their braids swinging in rhythm. Their anklets jingle, their garlands scatter petals, their wigs shine with oil. Every turn of their body makes beauty shimmer, every gesture becomes theater. Tonight you are not just a body adorned, you are a body in performance. You move slowly at first, a step to the left, then back to the right. Your jewelry responds with every shift, ringing softly like hidden bells. The wig, heavy with braids, sways against your shoulders. The garlands release a stronger waft of fragrance each time you turn. This was part of the design. The oils, the kohl, the flowers, the jewelry. None of it was meant only for stillness. It was meant to respond to movement, to make you not just beautiful, but captivating, to draw every gaze in the room not only when you entered, but with every gesture after. The Egyptians saw performance not as entertainment alone, but as devotion. Dancers at temples honored the gods. Performers at banquets blurred the line between sacred and social. To dance adorned was to embody harmony, to become rhythm and beauty woven together. And so, as you take a longer step, as your body shifts and your jewelry sings, you are more than a figure. You are a living ritual. The servant claps her hands once, soft, almost hesitant. She begins to hum, a low rhythm, ancient and steady. It fills the chamber with sound that matches your movement. Step, chime, rustle, inhale. The air grows thicker with the rhythm. You sway, and suddenly the beauty feels less like weight and more like current, like water moving through you. The Egyptians believed that beauty was a form of power, but only when revealed. Hidden beauty was potential, moving beauty was spell work. And the spell deepens. Every dancer knew how to make the audience feel what they wished. A lowered gaze could draw sympathy, a sudden turn could ignite desire, a lifted chin could demand reverence. with jewelry, perfume, and movement, you became not just yourself, but a role, a character, a living myth. Tonight, you feel it, the way each detail joins the theater. The kohl darkens your eyes, so your glance cuts through the dim light. The lipstick stains your smile red against pale skin. The garlands scatter petals with each step. The bangles echo the rhythm like small instruments. You are beauty, but more than that, you are performance. In banquets, the most skilled dancers were rewarded not only with applause, but with gifts. Jewelry slipped into their hands, wine poured into their cups, kisses pressed onto their cheeks. They were admired, envied, desired. And in temples, the gods themselves were said to watch, to listen, to breathe in the beauty carried by rhythm. The dance was not for mortals alone. It was for eternity. You move again, turning now, and the garlands brush your shoulder, the scent of lotus rising sharp and clean. You tilt your head, and the jasmine crown trembles against your brow. You raise your arms, and the bangles slide with a ringing note. It feels less like effort now, less like performance for others, more like communion, a ritual of movement and fragrance. You are no longer only adorned, you are alive in adornment. And yet the Egyptians knew dance too would end. Perfume would fade, flowers would wilt, jewelry could be taken off and placed back into chests. The beauty of movement was, like all things, temporary, a performance for a night, for a feast, for a ceremony. But that did not make it less powerful, it made it more so. Because the fleeting nature of dance, like flowers, made it sacred, a beauty you could not keep, only remember. You pause, breath rising, chest lifting under the collar of beads. The servant stops humming. The chamber is quiet again, save for the faint hiss of the lamp. Your body still tingles from the rhythm, the fragrance still clings to the air, the jewelry still hums softly from its last motion. And you realize, beauty in Egypt was never only about how you looked. It was about how you moved, how you made others feel, how you turned a chamber into a temple, a banquet into a ritual. You sit again, slowly, and the garlands settle, the anklets quiet. The servant kneels and bows, as though she has seen enough, as though the gods themselves have seen enough. In this theater of beauty you have not only worn Egypt's rules, you have performed them. And yet, even performance was not the end. Because when the night ended, when the jewelry was removed, when the flowers browned, there was still one final rule. A beauty that did not fade with dance, with fragrance, with gold. A beauty that lingered even when the body was gone. The beauty of the dead. The chamber is quiet now. The fragrance lingers, but it is thinner, less insistent. The jewelry rests heavily on your body. The garlands no longer release their perfume. The dance is over. And yet, in Egypt, beauty was never meant to belong to a single night. It was not bound only to festivals, to temples, to glances across a banquet table. Beauty was meant to endure, to cross into eternity. For the Egyptians, life was short. The Nile rose and fell, seasons turned, rulers reigned and were gone. But beauty, properly preserved, properly adorned, could cheat decay. Imagine now the tombs, hollowed into stone or buried deep under desert sand. Inside, the air is cool, heavy with silence. Chests of jewelry wait in the dark. Jars of scented unguents are sealed with wax. Rolls of linen lie ready. Paintings on the walls shimmer faintly when torchlight flickers, showing men and women still young, still adorned, still beautiful, centuries after they lived. Here beauty has crossed the border. In death, the Egyptians believed the soul would still need its body. The Ka, the life force, required a home, but the body would decay without care, and so they preserved it. Linen after linen, resin poured, oils rubbed into skin that no longer breathed. The same substances that made you radiant in life now became the tools of eternity. Myrrh, frankincense, cedar oil, once perfume for the living, now medicine for the dead. Beauty, once a daily ritual, became a preparation for immortality. And then, the mask. If your body could not remain untouched, then at least your face could. A golden mask, molded to your features, placed over your mummified head. Gold was not chosen for vanity alone. It was eternal, untarnished, the flesh of the gods. To wear it was to step into divinity. The mask preserved not only your face but your identity. It told the gods, "Here I am, here is my beauty, not lost to decay, but transfigured into eternal form." Think of Tutankhamun. His mask still gazes out across millennia, the gold polished, the lapis blue vivid, the features smooth and young. To look at it now is to see exactly what Egyptians believed, that beauty, properly preserved, would not die. Every detail had meaning. The eyes, rimmed in black kohl, sharp and watchful. The lips curved softly, touched with the red of life. The headdress striped with gold and blue, framing the face like rays of the sun. This was not decoration. It was survival. Because in Egypt, even the dead needed to be beautiful. And you, seated in this chamber, still fragrant, still heavy with jewelry, you sense it too. Tonight's adornment, today's perfumes, tomorrow's wig, all of it is rehearsal. For one day, you too will be adorned for eternity. The oils that smoothed your skin in life will soak your bandages in death. The jewelry that caught the torchlight in dance will be sealed beside you in the tomb. The garlands that crowned your head tonight will be painted in vivid color on your coffin lid, so that even when the petals crumble, the image will not fade. Beauty was never just for today, it was for forever. The Egyptians feared being forgotten. They feared being nameless, faceless, lost. To die without adornment, without preparation, without beauty, that was the true horror. And so even the poorest tried to preserve something. Coal pots placed in simple graves, amulets pressed against linen shrouds, perfume jars buried, though empty, as symbols. Even in death, beauty could not be left behind. The tomb is both silent and alive. In its walls, the paintings whisper. Here was a woman radiant, a man adorned, a couple fragrant with lotus and myrrh. In its jars, the perfumes sleep. In its coffins, the masks wait, gleaming faintly in torchlight. The Egyptians believed the gods would judge the soul, weighing it against the feather of Maat. But appearance mattered too. A radiant body was a body in harmony. A beautiful face was a face prepared to stand before Osiris. To be ugly, unkempt, unadorned, this was to risk chaos, to risk being turned away at the gates of eternity. So even here in death, the rules remained brutal. The bandages had to be exact, the oils had to be pure, the mask had to be flawless. To falter meant not only decay, but oblivion. Imagine lying still as priests chant, as hands rub oil into your skin, as linen wraps you tighter until breath would have been impossible had you still been breathing. Beauty, now, was not a choice, it was duty. It was the bridge between mortal life and divine existence. The final image. Your body, swathed in linen, fragrant with resin. Your face, hidden behind a mask of gold. your name carved into stone, painted on walls, your jewelry sealed in boxes, waiting beside you. The door closes, darkness falls, sand shifts above the tomb, and yet you are not forgotten. Your beauty remains. For the Egyptians, this was the last and greatest rule, that beauty was eternal only if it was preserved, protected, and presented to the gods. That to be remembered was to be alive again. And so, the rules of beauty in Egypt were not gentle, they were harsh, demanding, relentless. They asked you to oil your body, to line your eyes with dangerous minerals, to perfume your skin daily, to endure wigs heavy with braids and crowns heavy with gold. They asked you to dance, to captivate, to move like living ritual. And then, even in death, they asked you to submit again, to be embalmed, to be masked, to be perfected forever. These rules were brutal. They would break you. But they promised something greater in return, a beauty that did not end with life, a beauty that crossed into eternity. The chamber fades, the perfumes drift away, the jewelry falls silent, the sand closes above. And as you drift too into sleep, you carry with you the last haunting truth of Egypt, that in their world, to be beautiful was not simply to be admired. It was to be remembered. Forever. The desert is quiet again. The torches have burned low. The music of flutes and drums is only memory now. Perfume lingers faintly on your skin, but even that is fading. And yet, the story of beauty in Egypt does not end here. You have walked through the rituals, the oils, the paints, the wigs, the jewelry, the perfumes. You have felt their weight and their meaning. You have seen how beauty was never just about appearance, but about balance, order, and even survival. For the Egyptians, to be beautiful was to be aligned with the gods, to be cared for, polished, perfumed, adorned, was to say, I belong to the harmony of the world. Even if it hurt, even if it cost dearly, even if it meant carrying heavy wigs under the burning sun, or lining your eyes with minerals that could poison. The rules were brutal, but they promised something the Egyptians longed for most of all, eternity. And now you let that thought sink deeper. Think of your own rituals, not the ones with gold and frankincense, not the ones with lapis and heavy wigs, but the quiet ones, the way you brush your hair, the way you wash your face, the way you slip into clean clothes or light a candle in the evening. These, too, are small connections to order, little affirmations of balance, tiny offerings to your own sense of harmony. You do not need a golden mask or a painted tomb to carry beauty. You carry it already, in the rhythm of your breath, in the quietness of your heart. The Egyptians built monuments so large the desert itself could not swallow them, and yet even they have crumbled. Sand covers the walls, paint fades, stone cracks. But the idea, the yearning to preserve beauty, to hold on to what is fleeting, that has not vanished, it lives in us still. It whispers in the way we keep photographs, in the way we tell stories, in the way we try to make moments last. Even across thousands of years, the thread has not broken. And now, your eyelids grow heavier, the rhythm of your breath is slower, the chamber, the perfumes, the jewelry, the masks, all drift further away. The desert night stretches endless above the Nile, stars shimmer, soft and eternal, and you, wrapped in your own quiet, like linen, rest. Tonight you don't need to follow the brutal rules. You don't need to line your eyes with lead or perfume your hair with resin. You don't need to dance until your body aches or carry the weight of golden crowns. You need only to breathe, to let the heaviness go, to drift into a gentler eternity, one of dreams, one of peace, one of sleep. So close your eyes. Let the story fade like incense smoke in the air. Let the sand cover what has passed, and let yourself sink softly into the quiet harmony of night. Because beauty does not only live in rituals, or in rules, or in monuments of gold. It lives here, in this breath, in this moment, in you. Good night. Sleep well. And may the gods of Egypt guard your dreams until the morning light.